My name is Harold Bennett, and I'm 83 years old. I've built a life that looked right from the outside, and it's taken me this long to admit that it felt empty most of the time. Most of the people who would have cared are already gone or too tired to listen. I'm telling it because I'm closer to the end than the beginning, and when you reach that point, the lies you told yourself don't hold together anymore. I live alone now. A small house I bought decades ago, back when owning a home felt like proof that I was doing things correctly. The rooms are quieter than they used to be, not peaceful, just quiet. There's a difference you only learn when the noise disappears for good. In the mornings, I sit at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee that's gone lukewarm before I remember to drink it. I watch the light move across the floor. It's something I never noticed when I was younger. I was always rushing towards something else. At my age, time stops feeling like a wide road and starts feeling like a narrow hallway. You don't panic. You just notice the walls are closer now. People used to call me successful. I had a good job, a respectable title, a clean record. I paid my bills on time. I didn't embarrass anyone. I showed up when it mattered, at least on paper. If you looked at my life from a distance, you'd think I did just fine. I believed that too, for a long time. I grew up in a house where doing the right thing mattered more than feeling anything about it. My father worked every day except Sunday. My mother kept the house running without complaint. Nobody asked if they were happy. That wasn't the question. The question was whether things were stable. So when I left home in my early 20s, I carried that same rule with me. Stability first, feelings later, maybe someday. I got a job at an insurance firm downtown. It wasn't exciting, but it was steady. The kind of job people nodded approvingly at when you mentioned it. I wore a suit that never quite fit right and learned how to speak carefully in meetings. I learned how to sound confident even when I felt hollow. I told myself that was adulthood. I met my wife, Eleanor, at a company picnic. She laughed easily. She noticed things. She asked questions I didn't always know how to answer. When she agreed to marry me, I felt like I'd crossed another item off the list of a proper life. We weren't unhappy, not exactly. We were busy, that's what I called it back then. Busy building, busy planning, busy doing what came next. We had 2 children, a boy and a girl. I remember holding them in the hospital, feeling a strange mix of pride and fear. I promised myself I'd give them everything they needed. What I meant was everything practical. I worked longer hours once the kids came along. It felt responsible, necessary. Every extra hour at the office felt like proof that I was taking care of my family. I missed dinners. Then I missed school events. Not all of them. Just enough that the kids stopped checking whether I'd be there. Eleanor would tell me about her day while I half listened, already thinking about tomorrow. I thought I was being present. I was physically there, after all. I didn't realize how often my mind was somewhere else. There was always something that could wait, a conversation, a weekend trip, a hard question. I told myself there would be time later when things settled down. They never did. The years passed quietly. Promotions came. Responsibilities increased. People started coming to me for decisions. That felt good. Being needed is a powerful thing. It can fool you into thinking you're fulfilled. At home, we fell into routines. Dinner, television, sleep. On weekends, chores and errands. We talked about logistics more than anything else. Who needed to be where? What needed fixing? What could be put off another week? I noticed changes, but I didn't stop. Eleanor grew quieter. The kids became more distant. I told myself that was normal. Teenagers pull away. Marriages settle into calm. That's what I told myself. There were moments when I felt a tug of something else, a sense that I was watching my own life instead of living it. But those moments were uncomfortable, and I didn't linger in them. I was good at distraction. Work made an excellent shield. The cost didn't arrive all at once. It crept in slowly, almost politely. A birthday celebrated late. A conversation postponed. A phone call unanswered because I was too tired. None of it felt dramatic. That's why I didn't notice what I was losing. When my son left for college, I shook his hand and told him I was proud of him. I don't remember hugging him. Maybe I did. I hope I did. But I can't be sure. My daughter stopped telling me about her problems somewhere along the way. I noticed after it had already happened. One day she was just private. I respected that, or I told myself I did. Eleanor and I argued sometimes, but quietly. We were both polite people. We didn't yell, we didn't throw things. We let resentment sit between us like furniture we learned to walk around. I thought avoiding conflict meant we were mature. I didn't see that we were avoiding each other. The turning point, if you can call it that, didn't come with fireworks. It came with a phone call at work. Eleanor had collapsed at home. A stroke. Sudden. Severe. I remember driving to the hospital, my hands shaking on the steering wheel, thinking about all the things I still hadn't said. I assumed I'd have time once she recovered. That's what I told myself as I walked through those doors. She never fully recovered. For the next 2 years, I watched my wife fade in small, cruel ways. Words lost, movements slowed, recognition flickering in and out. I sat by her bed and talked about the past, about the kids, about anything that might reach her. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. I told her I loved her more in those 2 years than I had in the previous 20. I don't know how much she understood. I don't know if it mattered by then. When she died, I felt something I wasn't prepared for. Not just grief, clarity. It was like the noise finally stopped and I could hear the truth underneath it. I had spent my life preparing for a future that never arrived. I had assumed the important parts would wait until everything else was handled. They didn't. After Eleanor's funeral, the house felt wrong, too big, too full of things that no longer belonged to anyone. I went back to work because I didn't know what else to do. Retirement came a few years later. Another milestone people congratulated me on. I smiled and thanked them. Inside, I felt unanchored. Without work, there was nothing to distract me anymore. The days stretched long. The silence grew heavier. The kids called, but not often. They had their own lives. I don't blame them. I taught them how to live without me. That realization hurt more than I expected. I started going through old boxes in the attic, photos, papers, reminders of who I used to be. There were pictures of vacations I barely remembered, smiling faces frozen in time, proof that moments had happened, even if I hadn't fully been there for them. That's when the regret settled in. Not sharp, not dramatic, just constant. I don't regret working hard. I don't regret providing for my family. Those things mattered. What I regret is believing that was enough. There are things that can't be fixed now. Conversations that will never happen, apologies that arrived too late to land where they were needed, affection expressed when the person receiving it was already slipping away. Time doesn't negotiate. It doesn't care how reasonable your excuses were. At 83, I don't lie to myself anymore. There's no point. I see my life clearly now, for what it was and what it wasn't. A series of sensible choices that led me somewhere I never meant to end up. Lonely isn't quite the right word. It's quieter than that, like living in the echo of a life instead of the life itself. Sometimes I wonder how I'll be remembered. The answer is simpler than I expected. Briefly, as someone who was reliable, dependable, not someone who was deeply known. That used to bother me. Now it just feels honest. If you're listening to this, I don't know how old you are. I don't know what your life looks like from the outside. Mine looked fine too. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I wouldn't presume that. I can only tell you what I wish I had understood sooner. Presence is not something you schedule for later. Neither is love. Neither is listening. The small moments are not small. They are the whole thing. You don't realize that until there aren't many left. I thought I was building a life. I was really just maintaining an image of one. If this resonates with you, sit with it. You don't have to act on it right away. Just don't ignore it the way I did. I don't have much time left. I feel that in my bones. I spend my days more slowly now. I notice the light. I notice the quiet. I carry both gratitude and sorrow with me, and neither cancels the other out. This is the truth of my life. It's not a lesson. It's a confession. And when I finish my coffee in the morning, I make sure it's still warm.